Hi, my name is Dana Burnhout, and today I will be discussing Benjamin Franklin's final speech at the Constitutional Convention. Benjamin Franklin was and still is one of the most well respected founding fathers of the United States of America. With his face engraved in stone at Mount Rushmore and also on the $100 bill, Franklin is an iconic American figure. He played a significant role not only in the creation of America, but in everything leading up to its independence as well. He attended both the first and second Continental Congress meetings and was one of five chosen to help write the Declaration of Independence. During the war, he served in the Continental Congress as Postmaster General and helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris that ended the Revolutionary War, officially granting the United States their independence. Following the war, he served as a diplomat in France and would attend the Constitutional Convention in 1787. After the Revolutionary War, the Articles of Confederation were adopted by the Continental Congress as the first Constitution of the United States. The Articles of Confederation established a loose confederation of sovereign states where the majority of the power rested within the individual states. States held too much power, and as a result, America lacked unity and a strong central government. It soon became apparent that the Articles of Confederation were not a sufficient form of government and that a change needed to be made. The decision to organize a constitutional convention was stimulated by severe economic troubles, which produced radical political movements such as Shays' Rebellion and urged on by a demand for a stronger central government. The purpose of the Constitutional Convention was to amend and fix the Articles of Confederation. However, political leaders such as Alexander Hamilton and James Madison had different agendas. From May 25th to September 17th, 1787, 55 delegates from every state except Rhode Island attended the convention at the Pennsylvania State House in Philadelphia. Once the meeting began, the doors were locked and the windows were shut, and that was when the delegates knew something was amiss. Benjamin Franklin was one of the most important and influential figures of the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Not only was he the oldest member at 81 years old, he was also the most well versed, traveled, and educated man there. Having traveled everywhere from Paris to Pennsylvania, Franklin was highly regarded in the United States as well as overseas. Although Franklin attended the convention, he was not present during the first session as a result of several health issues such as gout and kidney stones. One of Franklin's most famous and significant speeches was the one delivered on September 17th, 1787, the final speech on the last day of the Constitutional Convention. His charming speech at the close of the convention, urging all to mistrust their own judgment a little, defer to the wisdom of the majority on the matters that still troubled them, and give the Constitution their unqualified support, ensured that it would be unanimously endorsed by the states represented and signed by all of the delegates except three. During and after the Constitutional Convention, many people were skeptical about and disliked the Constitution because they felt it did not represent their interests. Delegates were afraid that establishing a strong central government would take away too much power from the individual states and that they would not be properly represented. The first thing that Franklin said in his speech was that he did not agree with all of the parts of the Constitution and that he may never agree with all of the parts. He originally did not want to sign the Constitution. Many of the delegates sitting there listening to this speech felt the same way. He then continued to say that he realized that he was not always right and that as he grew older, he became more aware and more accepting of other people's judgments. Most men and religions believed that they held the only truth and that anything that strayed from their truth was wrong. After much consideration, Franklin said that he would accept the Constitution regardless of its faults because he recognized that it was necessary to have a general government and that if need be, changes could be made to improve the government and the Constitution. If a government was not put in place, there would be corruption and this would lead to despotism. At that point in time, Franklin truly believed that the Constitution drafted at the convention was as good was as good as it would ever be. He said, I agree to this Constitution with all its faults. I doubt to whether any other convention we can obtain may be able to make a better Constitution. It therefore astonishes me, sir, to find this system approaching so near to perfection as it does, and I think it will astonish our enemy. As a recently independent country, other countries, such as Great Britain, did not think that the United States would succeed and be able to govern and sustain itself. Franklin felt that the Constitution would prove to these foreign powers that the United States would succeed and could become a world power. He realized that it would be impossible to completely satisfy everyone there, even himself, and that the delegates would have to give up certain things and settle and compromise. During this time, unity was key in the success of America, and creating this unity was in the hands of the delegates at the Constitutional Convention. Even if the delegates did not agree with everything in the Constitution, they had to accept it. If every one of us, in returning to our constituents, were to report the objections he has had to it, and endeavor to gain partisans in support of them, we might prevent its naturally being generally received, and thereby lose all the salutary effects and great advantages resulting naturally in our favor among foreign nations as well as among ourselves, from our real or apparent unanimity. Most of the delegates at the Constitutional Convention were well educated and well respected men. The common person would listen to whatever they were told because they believed that the delegates had their best interest at hand. So if a delegate did not agree with something in the Constitution and openly disputed about it, it could influence the beliefs of the people and result in issues when establishing the Constitution. Mr. Hamilton expressed his anxiety that every member should sign a few characters of consequence by opposing or even refusing to sign the Constitution might do infinite mischief by kindling the latent sparks which lurk under an enthusiasm in favor of the convention, which may soon subside. Benjamin Franklin knew that the Constitution would never be perfect, and 27 amendments later, it is still not perfect. Even though not everyone could be satisfied, they had to accept the Constitution for the overall public's benefit. The opinions I have had of its errors, I sacrificed to the public good. The main and most important goal of the government was to protect the people and their rights, and the Constitution was needed to accomplish this. The Constitution is a living, breathing document, and over time it improves, but it will never be finished. Franklin said that for the benefit of the people and the country, he and everyone else had to accept the Constitution for what it was good and bad and stand behind it wholeheartedly. During the Constitutional Convention, men from many different states with many different views were forced to work together to create a constitution they could all agree on. He urged from the outset that the delegates all regard themselves as representatives of the whole rather than of separate states, and during tense negotiations, his humor and gentle admonitions helped bring the fractious delegates together into difficult but necessary compromises. Franklin's speech and its ideas were very important for many reasons. He put aside his objections and personal beliefs and agendas and told the other delegates to do so as well for the greater good of the people. Because of his influential position at the convention and in general, by him saying this, he was setting an example for everyone to follow. Franklin's very presence lent the weight of his influence to the proceedings and helped assure the plan's subsequent ratification. With his speech to the convention, Franklin achieved his goal. 39 delegates signed the Constitution and it passed.